Welcome to CPG Vibes. No script, just chat. We talk all things food and beverage and so much more. Feel our vibe and search for CPG Vibes on Apple Podcast or Spotify, and make sure to give us a 5-star review. If you'd like to sponsor our show with your product or service or be a guest, email us at cpgvibes100@gmail.com. Now your hosts, me, Alex Baer with Genius Juice, and Wade Yenny. All right, welcome to episode 103 of CPG Vibes. We're on the heels or on the precipice of the Super Bowl weekend on Sunday, Chiefs 49ers. But before we talk about football, because this is a CPG show, Wade, how you doing, buddy? I think you're on mute. Haha, you're the first person this year.
You tell me, I was going to say, you tell me every time, forget to, and I'm so busy typing links and everything else, I forgot to unmute. All right, you got me. You got me. I'm doing good.
Right.
I'm doing good.
I won this round. Round. But you've won the last like 4 rounds, so I'm still way behind you.
There you go.
But you know what? When you're, when we can't hear you, we focus more on your beautiful face. So that is a benefit right there.
Yeah, I'd like to say that, but I'm not sure that's true. But no, it's been a good week. How have you been?
Everything's good. Yeah, as you say, we have a face for radio. Definitely true on my part more than anyone else. Yeah, everything's good, man. Just, it rained for 3 days straight for any fellow people that were swimming across LA this week. It was I think we had 26 or 28 inches of rain in 2.5 days, which is more than usually a year in Los Angeles County. So it wasn't as bad as like what the news was saying, like, oh my God, there's flash floods and there's mud slides going down here. Those did happen, but it wasn't as bad as what the news is saying. So I was driving around like normal, doing sales, 405, 110, use self-driving or auto drive on the Tesla. And I was fine. I didn't go fast, but I drove, vigilantly. I was careful to make sure others didn't make stupid moves because people just don't know how to drive in LA when it rains. So
right now you don't have the full self-driving, do you?
No. I caught myself there. It's called auto drive.
Right.
So you click it. You probably have seen this, and it kind of weaves in the lane, but It doesn't make full turns. It doesn't make stops at red lights. If you're at a red light, it will literally blow right through it, but it does stop for pedestrians and cars.
Got it.
Yep. And I did see a Cybertruck for the first time last week.
On the road. Wow.
On the road.
Nice.
I saw it at a charging station. No shit, right? I mean, where else, like a Tesla charging station. And the thing was enormous. It was awesome. I mean, I love the look of it. It was like this matted steel, looked like something out of a futuristic movie. But it was surprisingly nimble. It was kind of just going around corners, and it was fast, and it was very nimble for how big the car is. But I didn't really get to see the inside. The guy just kind of went like that, head tilt, and then he just drove off. So the laundry list items, right? We don't want to lose that. So we have, first off, if you'd like to be a sponsor on our show, we're filling up with sponsorships, Wade. It's very, very exciting. We're probably booked out next 2-3 months at least. But if you'd like to sponsor our show, we'll mention you in the beginning, the middle, and the end. And we'll also bring you on the show to talk about your service or your product or your story. And it's an introductory deal of $350. And we also have block deals where if you, say, let's do 3 episodes or 5, we give you 25% off, 30% off. So make sure to hit us up, cpgvibes100@gmail.com. If you'd like to be a guest, make sure to email us. And in this case, our guest that we're going to be bringing on in about 18 to 20 minutes, we reached out to him. We're like, this guy is so good. We reached out to him, Wade, which is pretty rare these days.
Right.
Not to get all egotistical on everyone. So,
well, we are. Rumor has it we are the number 1 rated CPG podcast in North America.
Do you have your foam finger? Did you get that yet? Nope.
I have not. I had one at one time from one of the sporting events, but I don't think I have it anymore.
Probably wasn't a Cleveland Browns game.
No. No. Definitely the Cavs.
Yeah. So, we just want to, what Wade just said, we just want to thank everyone for making us the number 1 rated CPG podcast in North America. And I'm just going to give an applause, we will, to you guys for giving us that rating. Thank you. Thank you. It's all our fans, the followers, the ones that tune in, listen in every week, the OGs, the Gavin Conkles, the Kenny Hausmans, the Bilal Sadiqs, the Martin Stoops of the world. Kind of getting almost a little teary-eyed here. Might break down a little bit, but it's been such an amazing journey and doing this with you, Wade. It's so much love here as we're doing this, and it's a lot of fun. So I'm happy to be on this journey with you, my man.
Likewise. And I'm not going to say too much because I'm not going to get teary-eyed. We got a whole show to do, Alex.
We do.
Yeah.
And one last thing I will say to relish in it is that we were at 123 or 4 2 weeks ago, and now we're at 195 when I last checked. And we needed to pass 168 to be voted number 1, which we blew past. So there you go.
There's the link. There's a link to that if anybody hasn't had a chance yet to give us 5 stars. Doesn't cost anything. You don't have to write anything. When people think you're rating or leaving a review, you have to write something. You don't need to. You can just hit that 5 stars and you've done what you need to do. We're 5 away from 200, and that's something to be proud of for sure.
Oh yeah. I mean, everyone just really came through for us, and we're just happy to provide insight and valuable resources and to our community. That's what it's all about, giving back to our CPG community and really helping each other. And I think, Wade, you have nothing to worry about. You were kind of fearful that the episode numbers were going to catch up to the ratings. I think we have a little bit of cushion now.
We've got some cushion, but that doesn't mean we don't
stop.
Want more. That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
No rest for the wicked, Alex.
Exactly. So let's go into some, we're going to go into comments. I'd love to shout out some of these comments here. Then we have some things on the newswire that we will also talk about. So we have, I was going to say, there's Wade Yenny's comment. Okay, so we have Luis Alberto. Happy Friday, everyone. That's something we really like to do to separate ourselves from the pack, that's why it's live, as we want to shout out people and also help people in real time as well. Dima Mararu, Guru Energy Tropical Punch, right? The Tropical Punch, one of the new ones.
Delicious.
Sent me a case of that. It was a big sizable case. Fry, yay. How you doing, buddy? Joshua Sadiq, I saw him at Expo East, the last Expo East. So he walked up to a table I was at, just said, "Hey man, what's up?" And we go way back to the Yin Yang Naturals days, the broker. So hey guys, happy Friday. Joshua Sadiq is now doing his own shindig with advising and sales consulting, from what I remember. And then we have a couple others that are LinkedIn users, but
that's
Scott Hartman.
Scott Hartman's one, and Michael Porte with Dewey's Bakery is the other.
Yeah. And it says, "Too soon, Alex, salt in the wounds, number 1 show." Yeah. We won't stop, right? We'll keep going and pushing hard like we're not number 1, right? That's another brag right there. Exactly. All right. But it's all because of you guys and gals. So some things on the newswire here, which is worth noting. And Wade, if there's anything else that you track down on LinkedIn, and that's where I get all my news from LinkedIn now, not even from CNN or anywhere else. It's all LinkedIn. New Wave Foods closes its doors. So they do some of the, I think, is it plant-based fish? I believe they did. And so they closed their doors. I'm not sure what their revenue was. Did you try the product?
I have to. I don't think so. I was trying to find it, but I have not. I have not seen that. I have not tried it. Not some of the plant-based stuff for me is it's a little out there. That's one I definitely have not had. Definitely have not had that one. And I guess I won't have it now, right?
Yeah, unless it's on a discount somewhere and you can scoop it up. But it's just kind of a sign of the times that companies are struggling. And I made a post on that yesterday where I had a photo, right, an aerial view on the North Hall back in 2022, 2 years ago, and how you look when you zoom in on those booths. Not all of them, but some of those booths, like those companies, have disappeared. Right, some have hung around and stayed, but and one guy commented saying, "Hey, I see myself like mid-image all the way in the back. I'm the guy crossing my arms." I'm like, "How the hell did you spot yourself? That thing is small." So it was funny, but just a sign of the times that it's a struggle to stay in business and be profitable, like we've been talking about the last year and a half. Brodo also, she got so many comments and likes to show how influential she's been on LinkedIn. She's like a LinkedIn influencer, a lion, they call lioness, I would say.
Right.
And so she's parlaying that into other opportunities, I think more in the social media arena. So nothing ever goes to waste, right? Like the experience you pick up running a brand is so invaluable, and you can take that experience to the next phase of your journey and your career. And that's exactly what Erica is doing. And she's just empowering herself to do that. So it's really, really awesome to see her parlaying that into another opportunity.
Right.
Um,
Eric is a winner. She's maybe this is a blessing in disguise simply because she's gonna be doing something she really wants to do, and to your point, she's gonna use that experience that she had, and it's only gonna make her stronger. So
exactly.
she's a
Absolutely.
fantastic person, and wish her all the best.
Totally. And she, had a lot stacked up against her. She started in Canada, which is a smaller market, and then she was looking to break into the US. But she became a big time influencer, not only on LinkedIn, but also on TikTok, just huge. So I think she can do that for other brands and help them blow up their social media.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then, another thing that we'll talk about here in the 10 minutes we have Joshua Sadiq, National Sales and Consulting. That's it. We do shout you guys out if you comment. Is the hustle mentality. There was a post earlier today, which again, not faulting people that made the post or what it is, but I think it's a symbolism for what's going on where people are working very, very hard and getting sick as a result, or they're just pushing too hard, working too many hours, working at night when they should be resting, and I think the pandemic blurred the lines there from, home and work where you're working from home. So there's this hustle mentality that seems to be happening and in the past has been celebrated. And that's okay that people are working hard, but you have to also be careful not to affect your health negatively, which is happening a lot. And I've done it. I've almost had to walk away from Genius Juice like 5, 6 years ago because I just was so stressed out, and I had to get a handle on that by implementing different lifestyles, right, to handle all the stress. But it's happening a lot. You see people stressed out. You see people leaving their companies or shutting down. Sometimes it's just because it's a lot of stress running a CPG brand. So I don't know. What are your thoughts just on the balancing act of hustle mentality to grow your brand, but then you want to also be, stay healthy?
No, I think it's true in any aspect. Whether it's you talk about what I do, you talk about what you do. It's people are driven, and it's a lot of time on the weekends. It's late hours. It's early mornings. I know. I never cease to marvel when I get a text from you. It's funny because oftentimes I'm in bed before 9 o'clock my time, but then I'm up at like 3:30, 4 o'clock my time, but I'm getting texts from you like at midnight your time,
Right.
and but then you're up at the crack of dawn, as far as that goes. So I mean, I think some people are just built different, but I think it's important that each of us understand our limitations, and then also understand that every once in a while you need to take a break, step back, and do something for yourself. In your case, it's a walk or a jog, it's golf or what have you.
Hmm.
And each of us knows what that break is. But yeah, it's important, for many reasons, not just physical health, but also mental health.
Exactly. Very, very, very well said. And it's hard when you're like when you're a founder, right? Or someone very high up in a company where you just don't want to stop, right? You're just so motivated and so much passion for what you're doing. And like it's figuring out how to not go too far and how to stop yourself from working too hard. And the one thing that I think about is that if I work too hard, like I get more done, but if I'm working too hard, it will affect me in the future. And I might feel good now getting all this shit done that's piling up on my desk. But tomorrow, 3 days from now, 1 week from now, a month from now, even a year from now, I could be recovering or be negatively affected, my health, from working too hard right now. So it seems like how we feel now is a reflection on how we've been treating our bodies the last 2 years, 3 years. It kind of snowballs for better or for worse. So I think Jake, Carls, that was on our show from Midday Squares, he said it like that some people take 2-3 years to recover from burnout. I think burnout is the biggest factor in this industry. And those days where, I get up and feel like shit from working too hard the day before. Again, I felt great the day before, but now I wake up, I'm like, headache. I can't think clearly. I have no energy. I'm like, I don't like feeling like this. This does not feel good. So I've learned definitely the hard way, like many entrepreneurs, on how to balance that, which is a very cliched word, but to also recognize when you're going too far. That's the big thing, to be present, to say, I am going too far. I am working too much. I can start feeling my body breaking down. Let me put a stop to this now because my body's telling me something.
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah, it's a delicate balance. There's no question about it.
Yeah. So what else? We have the Super Bowl. Or do you want to stay on the CPG stuff? No
Well,
script, just chat.
I was gonna say, well, I've got two things we got to plug. We got to plug our buddy
V-driven.
Luke at
Yeah.
V-driven. So we might as well do that now. I'll put the link up if you want to do the honors.
Sure, absolutely. So I'll do the honors, you do the link. That's what you're saying.
Got it. Yep.
Okay. All right. So V-driven, I mean, what can I say? They kick ass, right? We do it. We speak from the heart about our premier partners, and Luke Abbott, he's the CEO and founder of V-driven. And they basically help with master sales. They do consulting even on, trade spend deductions. They help fight chargebacks, and they also do accounting. And there's other individuals with other companies that really focus on operations and co-packing. And we're going to bring this individual on in a few minutes. But I'd say Luke, where I feel that he's really strong, is that they have 3 or 4 services relating to sales, relating to marketing, bringing products to market. And also the big thing is fighting trade spend deductions. Did you see that post on that check the guy posted?
I don't know if I did.
The distributor will remain nameless. I know which one it is based on
Wise choice. Wise choice.
Yep. But it's a large distributor, right? Which there's a few of them, and the check, it was a check that was cut to a brand, and the brand owner posted this and kind of blacked out certain things, but it shows a launch where I think the check was 25, 30. It was something large, like 30, 35 grand. The initial billing, right?
Right.
And then you see all the chargebacks, and there's like chargebacks 13,000, 6,000, 4,000, 1,000. And so the remaining amount he got paid was like 65 or 6,000 bucks out of the 30, 40K. We don't have the context, right, on what that was. Could have been a free fill, could have been marketing, but needless to say, it just shows you that it takes a lot of money to launch and scale. And you've mentioned this before, Wade, is crawl, walk, run to scale and launch with a national distributor.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But vdriven.com, there's the website, and it's luke.abbott, ABBOTT, at vdriven.com. Great stuff. If you need some help in that or anything else with your business, it's good asset to have, his company and Luke himself. The other thing I wanted to plug, Alex, is I actually did a call or a podcast yesterday with the folks over at BevNet Nosh, along with Chris Young from Pocket Chocolates.
Yep, love that guy.
And then also the creative director from Goodles and Monica from BevNet Nosh. And it was hosted by Melissa Traverse from BevNet Nosh. And the topic of discussion was what gets a decision maker's attention, specifically as it pertains to Expo West. So I think that, I believe it aired live and you had to register to hear it live, but it should be the podcast and the ways to watch it after the fact should be dropping here in the next week. But for those of you attending Expo, thinking about attending Expo, or just trying to strategize it was really a nice conversation between the brands, Goodles and Pocket Chocolates that was on there, as well as, obviously I have the retail perspective and kind of what draws my attention, buyers' attention, category managers, etc. And then Monica kind of pitched in on that side too, as well as, what she's covering for BevNet Nosh, what she's looking for and what draws her attention. So really cool conversation. I'd suggest checking it out. When it drops, of course, I'll post it when that happens. But yeah, good stuff.
Cool. So it was live, but then obviously recorded and you can rewatch it.
Yeah, it's one of their community calls that they do.
Right.
And so I think, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it'll be on their website, as well as I think they actually have a podcast uh, devoted to community calls on Apple
Mm.
Podcasts. So
Oh,
it should
cool.
be, yeah, once they get it edited up and try and make me sound like I know what I'm talking about, it should be available for everybody to listen to. But yeah, like I said, it was a good conversation because I had time. Of course, knowing that I was going to be appearing, I had time to talk to my team a little bit, got some of their feedback, of course, with some of my own.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think a lot of brands will find it useful as they think about that expense, as we've talked about a number of times, the
Hmm.
expense involved, and once you commit to that expense, what are the next steps? How do you maximize that expense as far as, drawing people in and having, meaningful conversations and things like that. It was really good.
Awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to check it out. I didn't know that they had a bank of it on Apple Podcasts, so I will definitely check it out. I was on a community call for crowdfunding maybe about like 5 months ago, 4 or 5 months ago, with a couple others, with Emmanuel Storch from Blackbird Foods, and I can't remember his name, from Yerbay, another guy from Choosy, the supplement vitamins. So Sean, we all raised a bunch of money on crowdfunding, and so yeah, I love those community calls and across the aisle. We
Yep.
love BevNet. So one other thing I need to mention also, you mentioned, excuse me, the ongoing sponsor. We also have a sponsor for this episode, for episode 103. And this one's a special one. And he's very close to my heart, and he's a great friend of mine. He's a mentor of mine, and he's my life coach. I hired him a year ago. So I felt inclined to work with him, not only for what he does, but for this episode to really spread the love and get him in front of more entrepreneurs, since that's what he does. He helps entrepreneurs coach them through their personal and business life to be better, to just get more out of it and feel better about it. So I'm gonna, I'll read the blurb later on in the episode, but his name is Dan Crothers, and I'll put up his LinkedIn profile link. You can reach out to him. And he's basically a mindset performance coach who works one-on-one with CPG entrepreneurs and leaders on clarity, balance, and action to build the business they envision. And he owned a CPG brand as well, that he personally exited from the company. And so he knows the rigmarole of just running a CPG brand. And then he felt like, man, I went through a lot. Let me coach others on how to run their businesses and help them. And he does different businesses, not just CPG, but he seems to get more CPG clients because of his background. So
Excellent.
that's
Excellent.
Dan Crothers. And I'm going to post that now before we bring on our guests. I'm kind of multitasking. It's kind of easier said than done to multitask this.
It's not easy by any means.
Yep. I just posted it there, the link to Dan Crothers and his profile page. All right. So let's get on with our guest. I'm going to make a little introduction about him. So his name is Jeff Grogg, and he is the managing partner and founder of JPG Resources, and I'm pulling it up right now.
Got it.
So a little bit about him. He founded JPG Resources as an avenue to help build businesses across the food industry by combining the technical background from a decade of hands-on product development experience with the leadership and management perspective gained from integral involvement as a business leader. And they grew Kashi 30x over 8 years. Everyone, Kashi, right? We all know
Absolutely.
Kashi. Bought by Kellogg's. He's able to offer a unique set of skills and experience to partners, whether working with small companies, right, that are starting up to envision and manage a growing business, or larger companies desiring to rediscover its inner innovator. And their team has been through these waters before and helped a lot of brands navigate. And he's just a legend, and you'll get that sense when we bring him on here. So without further ado, get the music going. Turn it down a little bit. We have Jeff Grogg. How you doing, Jeff?
Good. Thanks for having me on, guys. Really appreciate it.
Welcome to the show.
All right. So how you doing this fine Friday afternoon? Where are you out of?
Doing great. Here in my office in Battle Creek, Michigan.
Okay, right on. Did you grow up in Michigan or where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Indiana, actually. Went to Purdue and then and have been here in Michigan, though, about a little more than 30 years now.
Okay, great. Well, tell us about you. I mean, I gave a little intro, which was very kind of a scripted thing on it was just all from LinkedIn, right? I tried to pretend that I wasn't reading it. It's hard. But tell us more about you, your background, and how you help brand owners, because really we have a lot of CPG brand owners and visionaries on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. My background's in food science, and I've been in innovation, product development my whole career, and just a passion for getting brands and products to market. And so after my career at Kashi and Kellogg, really wanted to. My experience had been that there was a lot of consultants out there who did product development, but wouldn't actually help you get all the way to launch and actually make money off the product. They wanted to give you formulas and give you early stage, product, but not take it all the way to the finish line. So that's really what we're all about at JPG, whether we're doing strategy or product development or operations. We want to think about the end result, want to think about making your company healthier. And we have 80 people now that do that across a wide variety of CPG tasks.
Cool. What's the just kind of a direct question? What are the 3 coolest projects you can remember that you worked on?
Oh, wow. I mean, this will be all over the place. I was fortunate enough to be at the early days of Rice Krispie Treats at Kellogg's when we launched that. And I was of the mindset at the time that surely nobody is so lazy they can't make Rice Krispie Treats at home on their own. It takes very, very little skill or time or anything. And yet, when Kellogg launched that, it went off so big, so fast that we couldn't keep up. And took full page ads in the New York Times and USA Today saying, "Hey, we're doing our best." When we built one from 1 line to 5 lines as fast as we could build them, and I learned a lot there. And then at Kashi, with the launch of products like Go Lean Crunch and others that became huge brands, very mumuch more anchored, obviously, in health and nutrition, and making something that people felt made a difference in their lives. Like the feedback we got from consumers was amazing. Some of it very graphic. But it was, people could feel it working and felt like it made a difference in their lives, and it did. And then, in JPG, one of my favorites is Cauliflower. And we were fortunate to work with Gail from the beginning, and just, her vision and energy and effort. And then we were able to come alongside her on that journey. It was fantastic. So there's every product you touch on its way to launch is near and dear, but those are 3 that, I'm sure people have heard of and can relate to. And I learned a lot in all of those.
Nice. Very cool. Yeah, what really stuck out to me about going back to Kashi, I remember, the timing of it was interesting. It was before, obviously, the healthier for you cereals really came out. It was before Magic Spoon, obviously, and all these others that are now gracing our store shelves. And there was that one and Cascading Farms. Those were the 2 that I remember like seeing prominently in natural stores. And so growing up, right, I'm 41, even though I look 21. But I always had Cheerios and Cinnamon Toast Crunch and Lucky Charms. And then after I got out of high school and college and left the house, I never bought cereal again. I'm like, I'm not going to buy cereal because it's basically crap. The ones that's on the store shelf, I don't like it, and it's too much sugar. And then Kashi hit the shelves. I don't remember when, but at least when I started seeing it, it was like 05, 06, 07, around there. I'm probably wrong on those dates, but it was an impact because I'm like, wow, it's much healthier than a normal cereal. So like, I'm surprised this didn't happen sooner. It took so long from like the 50s, 60s, from all the cereal giants to finally come out with a healthier one. So was Kashi like the pioneer? What the people tried before Kashi? Like, kind of jog my memory on the evolution of healthier cereal.
Yeah, I mean, if you look back, certainly items like All Brand, precede Kashi by quite a bit, actually. And so some of the bigs were doing some cereals that were healthier, and even something like Cheerios. is pretty simple and basic and has, certainly a lot more health profile than many of the cereals you're referencing. So there was some, and items like mini wheats or frosted, even frosted mini wheats. So they're simple, there's fiber, so there was some out there, but I think that, they weren't natural. They're all, synthetic vitamin fortified and a lot of those other things. And you go back to Barbara's Naturals and Cascadian Farms, and your timing actually was about right on Kashi. Kashi actually was launched, well before that. The cereals came on in the 90s, and then but Kashi really became a kind of household name or prominent in naturals in the mid 2000s, as exactly the time you're pointing out. It's 25 million in the year 2000, was 750 million in the year 2008. And a lot of that driven by cereal, but also then other categories where, granola bars at the time is health halo, but not healthy. And, so Kashi stepped into there, as did others. I think there's plenty of other brands during that time. It was a tremendous time to be in the industry, and to partner with, Cliff and Amy's and these others emerging brands. And the sense was we're all in this together, and everybody at Expo was on the same side trying to make the industry better and healthier. It was like joining a new family. And it was just, to me, a revelation when I was fortunate enough to kind of switch into that part of the industry, and to meet so many people passionate about health and nutrition and taking household brands and household staples and making them much, much better for consumers.
That's good stuff. I remember vividly when Kashi was in a boom period in the mid 2000s, because I was a salaried grocery manager at a store, and my regional person in charge of operations would come in, and he would just say, "Go lean crunch. You've got to have," and just that was one of his pet peeves. That he had his hot points throughout the store, and every time he came in the store, he would look to make sure we had plenty of Go Lean Crunch on hand, and it was just crazy. But good stuff. So, Jeff, we have a question from Robert Broom, who's the founder of Mooski Bars, and he's wanting to know about the hardest parts of product development. He says is taking something from the benchtop and scaling it up. How do you help brands go from a formula that works on the benchtop to scalable formula that works at a larger scale co-manufacturer?
Yeah, I'll give a couple of quick tips. One is, to borrow a Stephen Coveyism, begin with the end in mind. If you don't know how you're going to make it at scale, then you don't know how to develop it on the bench. So we like to always, envision that endpoint, envision how you can make it at scale and at the right cost, and all of that sort of thing, so that you can design the product right from the beginning. Otherwise, you're going to have to make some significant modifications on the way up. And then, so I think that's the biggest thing, is to understand what scale looks like for that kind of product that you're envisioning. And, when we do product development, we do the command search early in the process so that we can marry the development and the production needs all the way through the process. So you're not redeveloping at the end when it's very expensive and, you're under the gun. So that's kind of, I think, philosophically how you do it, is you need to know what scale looks like before you start on the bench, or at least early days on the bench.
Yep. I'm actually having a little flashback on with Genius Juice is because we have the whole coconut smoothies, right? We had them on the market for a while, and we started in the kitchen scraping out coconut meat and water. And I wish I met you when we started the company, right? I would have, I think, gone in a easier path versus the path that we took, right? Which happens with a lot of founders, where we fall in love with a certain formula, a certain product. And then as we're going down the path of scaling, we're like, holy shit, this is hard to scale. This is hard to find a co-packer. And that was for 3 years, 15, 16, 17, we ran into that where we're like, this is a great product. It's tasty, healthy. People love it. It's selling, but we just cannot find a co-packer to scale with and keep quality control across, and also shelf life with whole coconut. So that we ran into that same issue. We didn't think about the manufacturing scale up early on.
Yeah, and when you're working with fresh, also you've got all there's so many complexities, and what's not apparent to people sometimes is what plants do and don't do. What production facilities do and don't do, because you would think, well, somebody out there is making coconut water or coconut smoothie out of fresh coconuts. Well, but they're probably not, right? They're probably buying, because processing fresh coconuts is a very different set of skills and equipment and needs than making and bottling a juice. So I think a lot of times people assume that you can just scale up the parts of your process, when in reality those are often segregated processes and segregated facilities. And if you're going co-man, then you have to do something that is an existing process. We've had a lot of people come to us over the years say, I've got something new to the world, never been done before, there's nothing ever like it, find me a co-man. Like, well, if it's true that it's never been done before, there's not a contract manufacturer. And so then you have to build it, or you have to collaborate, or whatever. So it's not necessarily good or bad. It's just being aware of the trade-offs.
Yeah, and there's a couple brands that come to mind that it's cool. I love case studies, right? Like that had to go that route of they can't find a co-man to do it the way they want to do it, where it's highly specialized at a certain texture and taste. Midday Squares comes to my mind, and that entire thing. They went to like 50 different co-packers, US, Canada, and they could not find anyone to make it. So they're like, screw it, we're making it ourselves. And then the other one that, I idolize their brand is GT Kombucha. They're right here in like mid-city Los Angeles, somewhere that way. And GT Dave of GT's Kombucha, they have an entire block with multiple facilities. I don't know if you ever toured their facilities, Jeff, but it's monstrous. And obviously he's built it up over, almost 30 years, but to $1 billion company. But same thing with kombucha. Like, you can't find a co-man for kombucha. You have to do it yourself. So it definitely makes it. So my question is, I know it's based on case by case, but what would you recommend for a brand as far as when they're scaling? Do they get the machinery themselves and make it in-house? Do they find a co-man? What's kind of the better approach in your opinion?
That question has come up a lot, and there was a discussion around that on LinkedIn back in the fall, maybe October or something. And the straight answer is it's absolutely a case by case basis. It's partly on what your needs are for your product, and it's partly a real tough, sometimes I shouldn't say tough, but an honest discussion about, does my product need to be made this way, or can I make it so it's could be done in a co-man? And a lot of times the answer is you need to change your product or process a little bit so that it can be scaled up. Other times you need to protect what's unique, and you need to build it yourself or build it in partnership. But that also comes to, what's your team like? And some founders are absolutely not capable of running manufacturing, and others, particularly when there's multiple founders, maybe you do have that capability. So I think back to Bare Naked, which we bought into Kashi when I was there. Kelly was passionate about the food, knew how to make the product, loved to be hands-on in making the product. It was great for her to be in the plant making the food, and Brendan was out there selling. Either one of them alone, that probably wouldn't have worked, and certainly they couldn't have done both. So I think it's what's your product, what's your team, what's your pathway to profitability. All those things come into play, and there is no one answer.
Yeah, and I think that's a big point is when you're in manufacturing, if you don't have enough resources or people or partners to manage it, the founder or whoever that person, the owner, is being taken away from selling. And like,
Right.
to juggle manufacturing and selling, which is what I did for the first 2 years.
And fundraising and all the other stuff. I mean, yeah, it's really hard. It's really intense, and it takes that much more money. Now you've got to raise money from investors and tell them you're putting $2 million into a plant instead of into your sales and growth plan. I will say that story plays a lot better now than it did 5 years ago. but it's a lot of extra burden to take on making it yourself.
Yep, 100%. So, Wade, do you have any other questions
Yeah,
for Jeff?
yeah, Jeff. I was going to ask if if there's one tip. I think Robert's question was a good one, but if there's one tip outside of talking about the benchtop scaling and what for a brand that's they're doing really well. I always use a farmer's market example because it's the one that comes to mind, right? I'm selling really well at a farmer's market, and man, I've got something I sell out every weekend, and I want to grow this. If there's one tip that you could give someone that's kind of going from point A, right?
Ideation.
Yes, yes. What would you give that one tip? Without breaking the bank, what would it be?
I think the most important thing is really understand your financials, and be honest about what they really are. And when I say that, I think the number one thing that happens with small brands as they want to scale is they don't pay themselves, or they don't account for the expense of their own work. And they'll say, well, I can sell this for $3.50. And then it costs me more when I go to a co-man or when I scale up. That is almost never true. That's usually because you're not counting the cost of your own labor or your kids or your spouse or your friends or whatever. So too often there's a false sense of the value of the founder's time that's not accounted for. And other times they also just people don't understand the margins and all the distributor and all the other things, right, on the way from packing it up in your backpack and going to the farmer's market for the day is a whole lot different than when you have to have it distributed and into the store and all the other thing. So just understanding the massive change in financials that you have to undergo to scale up, and then counting your own time for something, I think that would be the kind of number one thing we see as a challenge for people going that direction.
I think that's something that time and time again, if you've listened to founders that have been in the sticks and whether it's raising capital or have been kind of through the ringer as far as taking product to market, you hear time and time again, you need more money than you think you need. You need more money than you think you need, and you hear that over and over again. So good stuff.
Yeah. I want to also touch on what you just said, Jeff, which is like the owners doing everything, right? Or the owners, the co-founders, for the first half year, maybe 2 years of a business. You also have to factor in that once your company grows to a certain stage or certain level, that the owner focuses more on kind of the higher level things and checking in, and whatever they were doing before, sales, operations, they have to hire someone now to do that. So it goes right into what you're saying, which is, hey, our margin is great and all this, but it's like, yeah, because the salesperson was being paid zero because you were the salesperson, the owner. Now you're paying someone $100,000 a year to go out and sell it. So you're definitely right about that. There's expenses that occur later in the stages of the business.
Right. Absolutely. And that just skates by a lot of founders. And especially you think about the compounding effect. You have 4 co-founders all working for free, and you have to start replacing yourselves. It's a lot of costs that you're taking on that often we see isn't accounted for. And that's why people need, podcasts like yours. They need to be involved in groups in the industry. They need to get out there and get involved and get some advisors in some way, get educated up a little bit, and have people. You don't need people to tell you what to do as much as you need people to ask you good questions.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of the most important things, that having smart people around you and other people who will be honest and tough with you beyond your friends and family, is you need people to ask the tough questions.
Exactly. Yeah, usually when there's an advisor that console you're thinking of hiring and all they're doing is telling you what to do, that's kind of that's a red flag. And I started you started in the CPG business before me. I'm not going to date you or anything like that, but I started after you. And yeah, little great. And I started after Wade, right? But in 2014, when I was walking the floor at Expo West versus today, right, coming up on 2024 Expo West, the resources are just so much more vast and even greater today for accessibility. And again, we love to give shout outs across the aisle, whether it's, the BevNet Slack channel or the Startup CPG Slack channel. I'm sure you've kind of dove in there, Jeff, and then Wade, you've taken a look at it in your, like when you have your 30 seconds of free time, right? Where like you ask a question, even on here, right? Even with our podcast, you ask a question, hey, I'm looking for a co-packer that da-da-da-da. I'm looking for a supplier that does this. Usually there's going to be 5 or 10 people that will just volunteer and say, I know where you can go, or at least get you in the right direction. So that's what I think that's what I fell in love with in 2014 on the floor at Expo West is I used to sell copiers before this, and then I sold insurance before that. It was a very kind of cutthroaty, no one really helping each other, everyone trying to get the sale and beat each other and how much they make. This is a different industry, I feel, and my experience has been where everyone wants to help each other as a community. Even competitors help each other, right? So it's a very unique industry that I fell in love with when I first got into it.
Yeah, I agree. And it is a very generous industry, and there is a tremendous amount of resources now, formal, informal, and partly because there's been so many people do well in the industry and grow up through it, that there's more resources because of the maturity. But also, there's just been a lot more focus on how do we collectively help brands grow? How do we collectively change the food system? How do we collectively make an impact? So I think that's always been the ethos. But from my first, I think the first time I went to Expo West was in 2020, and the difference is astonishing. Mostly in good ways. There are some things you always like to reel back a little bit. I love the fact that you used to be able to go at Expo West for very cheap and have just a plain table with a paper plate in the middle and some dude like, hey man, these are my hemp bars. And it was all very casual. But
that was Mike Fata from Manitoba
yeah, right.
Harvest.
So but it's a great industry, and I agree. There's so many resources, and people really need to be taking advantage of that generosity, taking advantage in the positive way, of the generosity and all the resources available.
100%. I mean, it's not to belabor it too much, but since I got into this business in 2014, there's been many things that have happened, but I love when challenger brands come in and they just grow organically. It's just right place, right time, right team, right product, right distribution. They have experience, and like brands like Midday Squares that are, looking to do 100 million, right? They're aiming their sights on 100 and above, and they're on their way there, taking on the bigger chocolate guys. To me, the most impressive since I got in this industry is Olipop and Poppy, where collectively they're doing, I believe, over 400 million in sales. And that's 400 million going to them and not to the big guys, the Cokes and the Pepsis out there. And then Poppy's running the Super Bowl ad on Sunday. I mean, I remember meeting the founders, Stephen and Allison, I believe, at BevNet in 2015 when they were called Mother Kombucha or Mother or something.
Yeah.
And now 9 years later, they have a Super Bowl ad, and so it's cool to see that progression where, like you said, they make an impact and they are effectively taking sales away from brands that are not as good for them or for consumers and steering them towards healthier for you. And then everyone wins. So it's awesome to see that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well,
credit to the pioneers of the industry who have built this network. Stonyfield, the Hirschberg Institute, has set, giving back, and the Cliff and White Road Investments, and so many of these founders that came along the way, set this mentality of we're all in this together. We're going to, float all the boats, and we're going to make change in the industry. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So we're going to go to our next segment, which we did not prepare you for at all, Jeff. That's our style here. There's no briefing before this with me and Wade, let alone me, Wade, and Jeff. So he doesn't even know what the next segment is. But
Jeff, I was going to say half the time I'm not ready for it either, so don't feel bad.
Yeah,
exactly. I'm making it up. We're making it up as we go, which is the no script, just chat live, mentality, the magic behind our show, right? We don't know what the hell we're doing. So this next segment is called Stuff We Love. And so what we do is we talk about stuff that we love, stuff that's in our pantry that we just got that we love. And usually I want to defer to you, Wade. Do you have something prepared for this week?
I did grab something. It's not something new, but it's something that I know I haven't talked about before, but it's a staple in my refrigerator. And I assume this is available everywhere, but maybe it's not. Have you ever had this stuff?
Ginger dressing by
Yes,
is that Makoto?
Makoto. It's a refrigerated ginger. It's a salad dressing, but the dressing you can get if you go to a hibachi or something that's on the salad that they do there. It's like ginger and it has a nice. It's delicious. And I just love this stuff. And the first ingredient, Alex, do you know what it is?
Ginger,
onions.
Okay.
I mean, it's crazy for a salad dressing. The first ingredient is onions, soybean oil, soy sauce. But just a fantastic flavor. And I didn't have anything that I haven't already consumed readily available. But I was like, man, I love this stuff. But that's what I got.
Yeah, you're big on the toppings and the seasonings, right? Last week was Dano's, and this week is Makoto's.
And I when we were talking about news items, I have to mention we didn't talk about the Liquid Death. What they're doing with the eBay thing. I don't know if you saw that.
No.
We'll talk about it after the segment, but remind me, we got to talk about that.
Cool. All right. I'll do mine really quickly, and then we're just giving Jeff as much time as possible to think of something or try to grab something, if there's a fridge under your desk or something, and also make sure to stay tuned because we have our sponsor, right? We have Be Driven, but also we have this episode sponsor, which is Dan Carruthers, a life coach for specifically, he really focuses on CPG entrepreneurs among many entrepreneurs. And he's going to give away 2 sessions, which are normally several $100s for these sessions, complimentary, to get to know him. He gets to know you, and he can offer his services in these sessions to you right off the bat. So make sure to stay tuned to win that. And I think anyone can win that. Even Gavin Conkle can win that. So the one I texted you this earlier. It's funny, my bracelet just got caught in the binder here. Is the Honey Mamas. Talk about, Jeff, something that was at a farmer's market, right? And like a wrapping to scalability when they got their investment from Amberstone, right? And they really scaled this. And it's very premium. It's $5-6 at a Whole Foods or Sprouts. But this is their new flavor. It's a limited edition Manuka, which, Manuka, right? Honey fudge. Fantastic. And they have blondie ones now, but this one really stood out to me. I got this at Sprouts. And then I just picked this up, which I've, promoted them 1,000 times, which is Coconut Colt Chocolate Mousse. Also got that from Sprouts and also another one from Whole Foods. So that's mine for this week. Jeff.
Well, you gave me enough time now. I've thought of 3 or 4 I have to sort out a little bit. I'll say one, and I don't have any of these packages with me. One that I really like, and I think is interesting to go back to the chocolate, as you were talking about earlier, is Endangered Species. Just launched a little dipping kit with chocolate batons and nut butters or caramel in it. That'll be hitting the market here soon. And it's just rolling out now. And they just announced it, I think, this past week. A new way of new chocolate innovation instead of another cup, a little more interactive and fun. So I would say keep an eye out for that. I think that's exciting. And then, Siete, the big brand a lot of us know, they just launched Fresas, which is the strawberry covered cookies. So sort of taking, as you know, strawberry is huge flavor in Mexico, and then taking that to their Mexican wedding cookie, sort of a mashup of now it's a strawberry Mexican wedding cookie. I think that's fantastic and very unique in the market. So those are 2. And if I can plug a company is near and dear to my heart, King Arthur Baking, which little up there, is they just launched regenerative flour, 100% regen flour. And, I think a lot of effort went into that. It wasn't like, let's bang this out in 6 months. Let's go buy something. that we can just slam together. They got involved with the growing, everything from the ground up, doing real significant effort in regen ag. So I think that's a fantastic product as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I love
Good stuff.
Sietes. Love Sietes. I love obviously the grain-free chips, and they also have the tortillas too, which are great.
Yeah, they've got a bunch of products now. I mean, Sete has been one of those stories that, they're not out there front and center all the time as founders and as the family, but boy, they've built a phenomenal company. And Honey Mamas, love to see people like that win. Great founder and build a nice team over the years, and just it's good to see. There's so many good people in the industry, like all these brands we just mentioned, that it's fun not only to see the good products, but just to see what people like that do for the industry beyond their brand is always great.
Totally. And not to one up you, because that's not one upable. What you just said is very well said. But I just want to add, isn't it fucking awesome when there's a product, you look at the packaging, it's clean, and it promises that it's going to taste good, and then you open it and it tastes really good. It actually surpasses your expectations, and that's what, like, at least what I've picked, coconut cold honey mamas. I'm sure what you all have picked, but it probably just blew your hair back, Jeff, but not Wade's.
Yeah.
Excellent.
All right.
I mean, I love when our industry brings clean and health and all of that together with taste, which sometimes we don't prioritize taste high enough, but it's got to be there to change people's habits.
100%. Yeah, man. I mean, I can think of so many times where I buy a product, I kind of explore Whole Foods. I'm like, let me try this. Like I tried, I won't say what brand, but and it's not Kashi, by the way, but it was a new age cereal that just great packaging. And it looks so good and like so clean and organic and fair trade and all the check boxes, but it also had a nice package, like really nice material, expensive material. Bought it, opened it, poured it in the bowl, had one spoon and said, this is terrible. And I returned it, never bought it again. So like you said, like product quality and getting return customers is so paramount. All right. So Friday freebies, let's get into it.
Friday freebies.
Okay. So Jeff, I got another thing we didn't prepare you for at all.
Love it.
Is we have a sponsor. We have obviously our ongoing sponsor, which is V Driven. I'm going to let you take that way. But before we do, I'm just going to talk about this week's sponsor, which is Dan Carruthers. He is a mindset performance coach who works one-on-one. And he's, by the way, I've retained his services. I'm one of his clients. I've been working with him for almost a year now. And he's made tremendous just impact on my business and just who I am as a person, how I feel. So he's fantastic, one of the best. And he works one-on-one with CPG entrepreneurs and leaders on clarity, balance, and action to build the business they envision. He's a mindset performance coach who works. He put it twice. And so the prize is a 2 60-minute complimentary coaching sessions. So, and each of those are about an hour. So that's worth several $100s. And typically, Jeff, how we roll on this one is we ask a question, something that we mentioned during this episode, but something not too easy, like, oh, what was my, stuff we love, Siete, right? But something like you said, a number, a time, a place, but something hard enough to make them really work for it. So, again, we didn't prepare you for it, but do you have a question in mind? And if you don't, that's okay, because you got two people to fall back on here to come up with a question.
Sure, if it's not too obscure, that I mentioned the first time I attended Expo West.
Nice.
I wrote that one down. That was going to be one of my
nice.
Great minds think alike.
Excellent.
So what was the first year? And you made it a little easier. You told the trade show, but what was the first year you attended it? Is that what your question is?
Yes.
Good stuff. Well, we're waiting for that to come, Alex. So what I wanted to say is, did we already get a winner? We got Demon there. That's not it. Liquid Death. These guys are crazy with their marketing. So they have a website. It's called Biggest Ad Ever, and they basically that will take you to an eBay page where they are people are bidding on to get their ad on Liquid Death packaging. So a portion of the Liquid Death, I think it's a 12-pack. I can't tell for sure. They're going to make 500,000 cases at least with an ad on there. And the current bid, if I'm not mistaken, is from Danos, and the bid is for $222,000.
Holy crap.
Yeah, so you look at biggestadever.com. Check it. These guys are marketing genius. They do a great job. So
they do.
Yeah.
So that's what I heard and remember was 2020, but then I know there was no Expo West in 2020. So
he said the first time ever. Remember, Jeff's an industry veteran here, guys.
That's what I was thinking.
I was going to say 2020. There was no show.
That's what I
see that.
Go. I was going to say no.
1920. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. You got to go back a little bit further. Than that.
You took a Model T to the show. I'm just kidding. That's bad.
I think I said it right. It was also when I referenced Kashi was at 25 million during that same year.
Yeah,
you did.
So it definitely goes way back before 2020.
Okay. So what is that year? And I know we're reaching the overtime on our show, but it was before the year 2000, right? We can give them a clue.
Before.
It was not before. Okay.
It wasn't before.
We're narrowing it down. Okay. All right. So let us know if anyone hits it. If not, we'll go to my backup question here because we are running overtime and Wade's got to eat. East Coast time. Well, you're 3 hours ahead or 2, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm also East Coast time, where Michigan's the western fringe of the Eastern time zone.
We're getting warmer. We're getting warmer here.
Yeah, I don't know what the answer is.
I think we're in the right decade now, Jeff, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's we can give another hint. It is a nice round number, like 2020, but not 2020.
There you go.
Okay. So we'll give it another 30 seconds. If not, then I got a backup for that. But I think someone should just start finger mashing all the numbers you can think.
Yeah, right.
Who can type the fastest at this point?
It was in Anaheim, but back in those days, Expo East used to rotate all over the place. I think the first Expo East I went to was in Washington, D.C., actually. And then it was Baltimore and back to D.C., and, it used to bounce all over.
Yep.
So you get a couple answers there. 2000, 2002, 2004.
Anything?
The winner is 2000.
Okay, so we have Dylan Fernandez, and let me look him up here because we want to do a shout out. Fernandez, CEO and founder of 222 Brands. He's in Costa Mesa, so he's not too far from me. And actually, I think that's Perfy from what I'm looking at because I see posts about Perfy, which I've been tracking. Yeah, it's
well, they do brand management.
They do brand management. Okay,
yeah,
I thought it was
brand
an umbrella.
Management. Key account brand management. Yep.
I see Mela here. Yeah, he does some great brands. Perfy, Mela, a lot of sparkling beverages. Look at these Mela displays. Yeah, he kicks ass. Rainfor, he works in New York. So he's the winner. So Dylan, make sure to email us at cpgvibes100@gmail.com to claim your prize, and we will connect you with Dan Carruthers, the mindset coach for entrepreneurs. He's great. So have an awesome time working or talking with him. So, okay, we always end it with what are we doing this weekend? Now that it's not raining in LA, I'm not playing golf. I'm going to be doing it's Chinese New Year. My wife is Chinese, so we'll be celebrating that with her family. Jeff, how about you go next? What are you doing this weekend?
Well, it's February, so naturally I'm going on vacation to Montreal.
It's a big vacation month.
Then from there down to the King Arthur board meeting.
Nice. Okay, cool. Montreal. Do you know French at all?
No, but my wife does, so that'll be helpful.
Cool. Awesome.
Great
Wade.
city. Great food.
Probably going to watch a little bit of the Super Bowl, and I there's a couple getting back to my Louisiana roots. There's a couple Mardi Gras type festivities this weekend in the surrounding area. So probably check a couple things out there and have a little Mardi Gras celebration, and that's probably it.
Awesome. When is Mardi Gras? The official
Fat
date?
Tuesday is this coming Tuesday.
This Tuesday. Okay,
Yep.
great. The day
Mhm.
before Valentine's Day, right?
Yep. Yep.
Cool. And then we have Groundhog Day right after that in early March, right?
What's that?
Oh, Groundhog Day.
No, that already happened.
Oh no, that's February, not March.
Yeah.
Oops. Okay, I totally
Yeah.
missed the boat on that one. All right, so that is episode 103 with special guest Jeff Grogg of JPG Resources. Best way to reach out is probably LinkedIn, right? Just to go on LinkedIn and private message
absolutely.
you.
Perfect.
And thank you again for being on our show and sharing your wisdom. And I'm going to go ahead and buy some Kashi now and some cauliflower. It's got me in that mood to buy some stuff.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And Wade, take care, buddy. Love you. Everyone, have a safe and wonderful weekend and enjoy the Super Bowl. We'll catch you next week. Same time, same place, 2:30, 5:30 Eastern. And our sponsor next week is Better Sour, Bella Hughes brand. So we're looking forward to that. Take care, everyone.
Take care.